Hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. Today we have an awesome guest. Her name is Dr. Birhanzel, and she is the superintendent out in Colorado Springs at a really cool district called Harrison School District Number 2. Dr. Birhanzel, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Love it.
Totally, absolutely. Now, what was your journey like to become the superintendent?
So that's a funny question you asked because I was never going to be an educator.
Okay.
Both of my parents were teachers. My grandparents were teachers. My grandma taught at the college. My grandpa was a superintendent. And so, like most teenagers, you're not going to do what your family tells you you should do. And
Hmm.
so, I was going to be an actuarial scientist and do math and statistics. And I did that for a semester in college and realized that just wasn't going to be it for me. And so then I became well versed in education, where I should have been from the beginning. Was a teacher, started my tenure out in South Central Los Angeles, taught in very impoverished schools, always in Title I schools, was a teacher, a literacy coach, an administrator out there, then moved to Colorado, was a principal at 3 different schools.
Mm.
From there, moved to central office, was curriculum instruction assessment coordinator, and then now I'm excited to be the superintendent. So I would say my route was never that I was going to leave the classroom. I never wanted to leave the classroom. I loved my kids, the influence you have. However, as I was seeing the systems or lack of systems and support and advocacy for our district and schools as a whole,
Mm.
I wanted to move into the next role. And that just continued my trajectory into my current role, where I just love the work I do. And I would say I love the work I do because I still can stay connected to kids. I'm in schools every week. I know kids' names, I know their stories. So even though I am not their first line of defense as a teacher, I am still very kid focused and just love the work and advocacy that you can do as a superintendent.
Love that. That's so beautiful. And I think you were a principal at two elementary schools, if I'm
I
correct.
was I was at 3 different elementary schools.
Three
Yes,
elementary
yes,
schools. Okay, cool.
yes,
And then you
yes.
also, super humble, you were, I read, Superintendent of the Year in 2023, right?
Yes, yes, that
Okay.
was last year. So super excited of all the progress we've made here and the honor to honor our district as just the great work that's happening.
That's awesome. So cool. Well, congratulations again.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
And when you were a K through 12 kiddo, was there anything that you struggled with your, emotional or mental health? For me, it was depression and anxiety. A lot of kids are struggling with one or both of those. I was bullied on top of it, so it was like recipe for disaster. Was there anything when you were K-12 that maybe you struggled with?
So I think I didn't know it at the time, of course, right? I just thought it was how I was feeling, but
Mm,
I definitely had high anxiety.
mm,
I wanted things in a way. School was pretty easy for me in terms of it came easy. I had a lot of support at home, obviously, with 2 teachers as parents. I
mhm.
had a great family growing up. I didn't understand why everyone else wasn't the same way in school. And so I didn't like when others misbehaved or didn't do their homework. I was probably, teacher's pet per se, because I was always, doing what I needed to and didn't understand why others weren't, and that caused me anxiety.
Mm,
And then I always wanted to do the best. So even getting one wrong on a spelling test would cause
mm,
me, like, I thought I was a failure for the one
mm,
wrong instead of
mm,
focusing on you got 99 right.
mhm,
And so yes, and then the anxiety has stayed with me as an adult, and now I actually can name it and identify it and
mhm,
overcome it.
mhm,
And it's interesting because we're seeing those same social emotional things in our students, and I'm just excited that when I was a kid, no one talked about any
mhm,
of that, and
mhm.
if you did, it was, you were cursed, and we can't talk about that, and that makes you wrong. And now it's, I won't want to say celebrated, but it's okay, and we need to own it and appreciate it and just understand we're all different and how we interact with others. We just have to acknowledge them for who they are and celebrate each other. And so it's just exciting in my own lifetime to see how it was so different when I went to school and
Mm.
the great things we're doing to support students now.
I love it. Wow. I've been so blessed to connect with a lot of superintendents over the last 4 years, and seriously, Wendy, that was amazing. Just celebrating each kiddo for their own uniqueness and their own special gifts that they've been given, and I just love that. And you're right, it has changed a lot since we were in school, where it was totally taboo. You just don't talk about anything. You just bury it, and
Yep.
that's just healthy. So I love that you guys are opening the dialogue, which is
Yes.
so critical. And what do you notice? In addition to that, because you kind of already answered this next question, being a superintendent and principal and being around kiddos your whole life, what have you noticed that's been working well for mental health support, in addition to, I guess, starting the dialogue and talking about it?
I think a key piece that I know, particularly in Colorado, and I know across the nation, but is we talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we talk about it in our district, in our schools, in our community. There are some communities, unfortunately, in my mind, that you can't talk about it. It
Mm-hmm.
still is taboo, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not the school's place to help with social emotional. And you should just be teaching, the basics. And so talking about it to me is the first step. We talk about that we need our adults to be regulated so our students can be regulated. And
Right.
we have to recognize where we are. And some of
Mm-hmm.
us, we need to own that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have done a lot of putting our money where our mouth is. So if we say we really care about the whole child and social emotional learning, what are we doing resource wise to provide that? We can't just have teachers be expected to do 50 more things because
Mm-hmm.
now we have 50 more needs.
Mm-hmm.
So we've put full-time counselors and social workers in every school, regardless of the size.
Mm-hmm.
We have free social emotional support for not only our students, but our entire families,
Love
because there's a need for us.
it. Mm-hmm.
We practice mindfulness with students and staff. We've trained them on that and expect that that's used. We use connection circles with restorative practices.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have free online tutoring for our students and families if they're in school. And then we put all of that into our planning. So when we budget, that's not a nice to have, or if we have extra money, let's do this. It's a priority. We really have changed our mindset to we have to take care of people first, and then we can teach content. And that is a game changer in turning a culture and in producing citizens for the next generation who really know who they are, have their voice, and can really take care of us when we're old.
Right. I love it. That's so true. It's true. It's beautiful. You are doing what you're doing is incredible. It's beautiful because you're taking care of the whole child. And what you said is so on the money. It's a bullseye that study after study shows that we can't learn, especially adults or kids, if we don't feel safe. If we don't feel physically safe, we don't feel emotionally safe, we don't feel mentally safe, if we're getting bullied, or even if we're bullying ourselves and putting
Mhm.
ourselves down, we can't focus. We can't achieve the academic goals that we want to. So I love that you're putting the child first and taking care of their mental health, their mental safety, their emotional safety. And that's, well, it's no surprise you were superintendent of the year. I mean, you're awesome. And then, if there's one thing on your heart, Wendy, that you're like, why didn't this dude ask me this? I wish Michael would have asked me this, because this is what I want to talk about. If it's encouragement to maybe another superintendent like you, or principals, or parents, or even students, if there's, whatever's on your heart. And I'm just gonna,
I think for me, I'm known for student voice. I mean, I'm known for our students are at the table, bring me an idea. My first question is, what did students say? And if you didn't ask them, go back and ask them, and then let's talk. Our students have to drive the work we do. They're our why. They're the reason we have jobs. And so we need to start listening to them, and we need to help them understand how to use their voice. But I'm going to do an and, because yes, that, and I think as a nation, we cannot advocate enough for the noble profession of public education.
mhm.
We see teachers get burned out. We see teachers get ridiculed from society as a whole, and they're not having students achieve. They don't even know the details, the people criticizing. And so I just want to praise our teachers for choosing a noble profession that is so hard. And many parents learned during COVID when they had to become the teacher how
Mhm.
hard it was, but that wasn't even a realistic view. That was a nice little snippet.
Mhm.
But our teachers are, to me, society's heroes, and they don't get enough praise. They don't get honored enough. And so I just want to sing the praises of our teachers, say it's a noble profession, and thank every one of them for choosing to make a difference in our kids.
I love it. And Dr. Birhanzel, my mom was a teacher, so
Hmm.
I love it. I'm definitely going to share this episode with mom, and I'm sure all of your teachers right now are like, yes, Dr. Birhanzel. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your heart for kids and for your staff and for their parents of your kiddos. It's just it oozes out of you, all of that love and that you care for them so much. So thank you for carving out some time for us today.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.